Guys, I'm excited for you to see this. It's going to blow your mind. And I believe that at the end of this Bible study walkthrough, you're going to know how to read the Bible better. And I pray that you'll develop the essential Bible study skills that I've developed throughout my Bible study journey. So we're in Proverbs chapter 3, starting in verse 21. Let's plug this into context first. The last thing that was said was that the Lord by wisdom founded the earth. And by understanding, he established the heavens. By his knowledge, the deeps broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew. In other words, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge are almost the three things that God uses to bring the world into existence, to structure and order the world as we know it. And so wisdom, understanding, and knowledge become tools in the hands of God. Though they're inherent to who he is, they're almost tools that he uses to carve out the deep in the heavens and found the earth upon. And now we get to verse 21, where it says, my son, that's who he's writing to, okay? Do not lose sight of these. And what are these? Well, he's going to explain in a minute what these are. Sound wisdom and discretion. So let's highlight sound wisdom and discretion, okay? And what he says is, don't lose sight of sound wisdom and discretion, because apparently it's easy to lose sight of these things that are actually really important for life. He actually says, keep them. So contrasted with losing sight here is keeping sound wisdom and discretion. Kind of like when a shepherd would keep watch over their sheep. A shepherd would know where their sheep are. They would keep an eye on them, right? They would have their eyes fixed on the sheep to at least have a general sense of where they are. That's what he's telling his son to do with wisdom and discretion. The very wisdom and understanding that God himself uses as tools to create the world as we know it. He's inviting us to employ that same wisdom and discretion that God makes available to us. And it says that they will be life for your soul, and they'll be adornment for your neck. So, something to do when you read the Bible is to learn how to ask questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little squiggly under the neck and the soul. And so something to pay attention to is what's the importance or the significance of the soul, and what's the importance of the neck? Well, around the neck, apparently, there's going to be what's called adornment, right? Because the neck is where you put necklaces, jewelry, right? You kind of dress yourself up, and so the neck is going to be the place of adornment, whereas the soul, right, apparently is the seat of life, right? And so this wisdom, this discretion that we're called to keep sight of, it's actually, by keeping sight of it, it will be life for the soul and adornment for the neck. Why the soul and the neck? Because this seems to be the place of life, where life happens, right? The soul of yourself, the core of who you are, seems to be the control center of your way of life, right? But also, think of this, that the soul is either alive or it's, departs into death. And so in Hebrew thought, the soul encompassed more than just the immaterial aspect of you. It included the body, right? So this wisdom and discretion ends up being the life for the entirety of who we are, right? Just like it ends up being an adornment, a decoration for our neck. In other words, it becomes visibly seen by people. When you keep sound wisdom and discretion, people will recognize it. You'll find yourself in life, right? And then he says this word, then. And I'm going to highlight in yellow, has nothing to do with keeping and losing sight of, just I want to choose yellow here. This word then notes a result, meaning when you choose to not lose sight of these important, beautiful blessings God has made available, then the result is that you will walk on your way securely and your foot will not stumble. Okay, these are two words that I believe are going to go together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that on the walk of life, right, you'll either stumble or you won't, right? And the way here is what's being walked on. Okay, so pay attention to what's being walked on. It's a way. And apparently, when you have wisdom and discretion has your life, ends up leading you into life. Part of that means you end up walking securely. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to highlight this word to describe the kind of walk that you end up being on. There's security to your walk. There's establishing to your steps. There's God ordering the steps and making sure that there's ground where you step out on so that you don't stumble over something, right? Or wisdom and discretion help you navigate your way so that you don't end up stumbling over something that God's trying to protect you from, right? So there has to be security to our footing, to the way that we're walking. And apparently the security to our walk and our way of life becomes wisdom and discretion, right? So that's why I highlighted in orange wisdom and discretion, because they end up being life and being an adornment, right? But they also provide security to your foot and your way as you walk. A lot of people are walking through life, stumbling everywhere because they're rejecting sound wisdom and discretion, and they're losing sight of that for something else. So now what's going to happen is he's going to continue to talk about what it looks like for wisdom and discretion and understanding to lead you into a secure way. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Now, what I want to do is notice the fact that lying down here is repeated twice in the same verse. Pay attention to repeating words when you read the Bible, or repeating ideas that often will get recycled or explained in different ways, or synonymous words and ideas that are used. He says, if you lie down, you know what will happen? You will not be afraid. In fact, your sleep will be sweet. So the word sleep here tells us what kind of lying down he has in mind. Some people don't sleep easy. When they lie down, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of this anxiety that comes with not walking in sound wisdom, right? But when you apply wisdom to your life and you lie down and you go to sleep, when you're laying down, instead of being afraid, you'll know that by walking in the wisdom God has provided, right, you can enjoy sweet sleep. In other words, wisdom doesn't just follow you in your everyday conscious life. Wisdom and discretion actually guard you and bring security to your unconscious state, or the state in which you're asleep. And this is important because a lot of people lack the security in their sleep. There's fear, there's anxiety, maybe because when you're awake, your way and your walk isn't secured by the wisdom God has made available. It's incredible what wisdom actually does here, right? It says, do not be afraid. So now it transitions from an if-then kind of statement to a command. Kind of out of nowhere, it seems like, right? He says, do not be afraid of sudden terror or of the ruin of the wicked when it comes. So what we have to do is, and this is what you should do when you read the Bible, is ask questions. What does this command have to do with lying down in security instead of fear? Well, he's telling you not to be afraid, but he just said how you end up not being afraid. By walking securely with the wisdom and discretion God provides, right? Otherwise, you'll end up being afraid of sudden terror, of the ruin of the wicked when it comes. Because guess what? There's ruin coming upon the wicked. There's terror. There's terror and ruin coming upon the wicked. And instead of being afraid, like you'll get swept up in that terror and ruin, you'll be sleeping in sweet sleep because you know that God preserves you through the wisdom that you're walking in. But notice the descriptive word of this terror. It's not just your generic terror where you're just like, I'm just terrified. It's sudden terror. So the wicked seem secure. They feel like they're safe until suddenly, out of nowhere, in a matter of seconds, everything changes and terror and ruin come upon the wicked. And when it comes, you don't have to be afraid because wisdom and discretion actually give you insight or foresight into the terror and ruin that's coming upon the wicked so you can know how to avoid it instead of being swept up in it. So there's a difference here if you notice, between the wicked and those who actually walk securely in wisdom. The key difference is that they don't expect the terror or ruin that's coming their way. It's sudden. They didn't expect it because they didn't walk in wisdom. Whereas the person who's walking in the wisdom and discretion of God, which ends up being their life, they can anticipate what's coming for the wicked, and then they can make the adjustment to avoid it. That's what wisdom wants to do. Wisdom wants to guard people from disaster. Now look at this. Verse 26 starts with for, or you might say because. In other words, verse 25, don't be afraid. Why? Well, because, this is the key phrase, the Lord will be your confidence. And notice the word will. It's not a maybe, it's not a hope, it's absolutely for certain. He will be your personal confidence. Why do you think you can dwell or sleep securely and have sweet sleep instead of being in fear? Because you have a confidence. So who is the confidence in this verse? It's the Lord. He is and will be your confidence. And he will what? He will keep your foot from being caught. So what is it that I'm confident God will do for me? Well, I'm confident that he sees what's coming my way. He knows the obstacles and the traps that are waiting along the path of life, and he can effectively keep my feet from being caught in the snare of wickedness and terror and disaster that comes upon the wicked. So this is no longer just wisdom that's, protecting. This is the Lord himself being our confidence through the wisdom we walk in. In other words, all wisdom, and I take notes in my Bible, I encourage you to do the same. All wisdom points us to the Lord. All wisdom is rooted in God. All wisdom brings us a confidence that is rooted in who? Well, the Lord. Okay? And he will keep your foot from being caught. He will keep your foot from being caught. When we get to verse 27, there's going to be a bunch of do nots. Don't withhold, don't say, don't plan. So what I want to do is kind of cut it off right here today and show you that there is confidence for those who walk in wisdom. There's a kind of inner boldness and security and confidence and safety that doesn't just come from the wisdom we walk in, but it comes from God who preserves us through the wisdom that we apply to our lives, so that we don't have to live in perpetual fear and anxiety about what might happen, because God will give us foresight about what he's protecting us from so we can make the adjustments, right? And we won't be swept up with the wicked in the sudden terror. We'll see it coming because God, being our confidence, keeps your foot from being caught. Notice how it's not you keeping your foot from being caught. It's you just do what he says is wisdom, and he'll do what you can't do for yourself, which is to keep your foot from being caught by things that you don't even know are coming. So notice how the verb here, will keep, it's not about you keeping yourself. It's actually about the Lord keeping you, and that gives you confidence to walk in the wisdom he says to walk in. I hope this Bible study was helpful to you. I encourage you to like this video, share it with people who want to learn how to read the Bible. If you didn't already know, we have a 40-day completely free Bible study skills program online that you can take. I'll link it in the description below. You can take the 11-day, the 27-day program, whatever you feel comfortable doing. It's all there and it's available to you. And so if you want to learn how to read the Bible like this in depth at a 40-day pace, it's self-paced, go and check that out. And check out the last video we did and this whole series in Proverbs if you haven't watched any of it already. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.